Damn the music. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10 Live. I couldn't stand the music anymore because it really wasn't a game day. I am disgusted, and I'm trying to keep my composure for one reason. But we played terrible, and they have our number. I'm going to say it. They beat us by 3 every game. Every game. I'm going to just we're going to do a round robin. And I'm just going to let everybody vent until it's my turn. Caleb, would you like to start?
Sure, I'll go ahead. To start off with, how do I say this? Wiley obviously can play in the NFL, but he does not deserve a spot, in my opinion, on the Chiefs offensive line anymore. Spags, in my opinion, has failed to make adjustments when necessary. That's been a huge problem. Because if you can't make adjustments, how's that going to help the team? There's no way Carl Office should be covering Chase. There's no way. Also, Sack Nation, where were you guys at today? You guys got sacks against all these bad quarterbacks, but then we run to John Burrow, we run back into last year's defense. Unacceptable. And I love Chris Jones and all of them, but it's like, hey, what is going on? Also, I'm really not going to go to the officiating, but it's pretty bad too. And I can't blame that on the officiating. But then Mahomes, you missed the check down, man. You missed the check down that was wide open and got you the first down. And then Butker missed the kick. Jarrett, good friend, Ryder. Hey, I know you mad at me, but look, Butker has seemed to miss a lot of big kicks, and we need them. Not counting the playoffs, things like that, but he's kind of missing big kicks that have been very detrimental to this team. So, what else do I say? Oh, McDuffie showed up and did his thing. Did everything I expected. Talked with Philip a little bit ago. He'll agree with me on that. McDuffie showed up and did his thing. But that loss is just unacceptable. And Justin Reed was nowhere to be found. And look, checks were signed. Checks were signed, but nothing happened with them. It just, as a fan, it just hurts really bad because the Bengals are not that great of a team, and the Chiefs should have not lost that game. Too many mistakes happen, and Andy needs to get a cover on this team, make sure he can help them because they can lose a game in the playoffs like this and the whole season go down the drain. The Bengals, in my opinion, are not that good. That's all I got to say.
Justin?
Well, my first problem is with the secondary outside of Trent McDuffie. Obviously, he showed a lot of promise today, but everywhere else was ridiculous. I mean, secondary guys would get there, miss tackles, so many missed tackles. And then they were just getting scorched down the middle. And like kind of what Caleb was getting at. I mean, if you're talking all crazy on Twitter, you better be actually locking guys down and not giving up all these ridiculous plays. And I mean, they just weren't getting to the football. And when they weren't making plays out of it. And it was just really inexcusable, in my opinion. And then offensively, I know Bieniemy, it's in his contract where he has to call X amount of plays. And I think Kansas City needs to buy him out or do something. Like, tell him to go take a hike. Just do something because this is getting ridiculous.
He called every play in this game.
Yeah, I know. The fact that it's, I mean, night and day difference from when he is calling the plays and when he's not. It's not like a time here and time there. No, like and he's only calling when it matters. Like when the Chiefs actually, they should have let him coach or call last week against the Rams if he really wanted to, not against the Bengals in a damn near must-win game. So it's just really frustrating to see these little mistakes that somehow only come up on the big games that shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
but
I think between the play calling on the offense and the absolute horrid tackling on the defense, and I mean horrid, they couldn't tackle a Girl Scout group today. They couldn't hit anybody. Everybody whiffed them. Little tiny ass kids would have whiffed them. I don't know what is going on. But this team I don't understand what it is with Cincinnati. Maybe they just have our number. Maybe they understand our timing. I don't know. There's a Facebook user on here that says the game frustrated me. I understand. We're set. Yep. They are a very good team. There's no doubt about it. They are a very good football team. But they're not unbeatable. I mean, they're 7-4. We just can't sack Joe Burrow. We can sack the same guy 5 times. Doesn't matter what game it is. But we can't sack Joe Burrow. We got him once today.
somehow, No matter how bad their offensive line is, somehow.
Yeah, no matter how bad their offensive, they could have no offensive line out there and Burrow get away from it.
And that's the thing I just don't understand. It's like Sack Nation just did not show up. And this is the game I thought they were at least going to have 3 sacks, but apparently that offensive line turned out to be really, really good, like what the Colts had a couple years ago, and the Chiefs just can't get through. So the
I'll tell you this, right now, the only 2 defensive line players that did any good at all, in my opinion, was Carlos Dunlap and really Frank Clark.
Mm-hmm. I thought Frank
Clark
I
agree with you there.
Pressure and
I agree with you there.
Everybody else in the middle, they might as well just go on home.
Yep. I thought
they are
both of those
with the
guys
loss.
played really
Forgot
good.
about that.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Frank Clark especially. I mean, he was sick this morning, and it was kind of a question if he was going to play or not. And I thought, I mean, statistically, he was pretty good. But I think just watching the game, you could tell he was always getting pressure, and he was. I mean, there just needed to be somebody else that would clean it up, and nobody could finish off what those 2 outside guys were doing. So it just fell apart.
Yep. I don't know. Quentin?
So I'm just going to read you the first paragraph that I have for my article. This is what I have, okay? And I think that I'm doing this because if I don't read this, then I'm going to say some stuff. Third time's the charm was the mindset heading into Sunday's match against the defending AFC Championships. However, the Chiefs did not make nearly enough plays in order to come through with a win. And I think that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, they only had like
Chiefs
15,
not out here.
10 or 15 plays in the first half.
The Chiefs were not out here making plays. I think that the Bengals were just able to come through when they needed to. God, I was looking at the third down percentage, and the Bengals were continued to just move the ball down the field on third down. I think a lot of that comes from their ability to run the ball. They were able to get themselves in, second and short multiple times. And when you're doing that, it's much easier to run an offense because you can run whatever play you want on third and short.
I want to know how they were able to cut you off. I know we're taking our turns and stuff, but I don't know how they were able to allow that running back to catch a pass on nearly every third down. Like it was like everything went perfect, and then somehow he caught a pass every time they needed him to out of the backfield, ran for 12 yards. And no adjustments from made, but go ahead.
I think on top of that, my biggest complaint about the offense is going to once again be that offensive line. I thought I was off this wagon. I thought I was done for the year coming through and talking about the offensive line. I haven't talked about poor play by the O-line in a few weeks now. But today, the offensive line, specifically the left side, sucked. There are a lot of times that Orlando Brown struggles so much with the speed rush on the outside, and that is so bad when you're the left tackle. It's one thing if you suck at blocking speed rushing guys when you're in the interior, because there are ways to adjust to that and leaning on other guys. But when the guy next to you isn't great, and then you're stuck on an island, and how many times did we see the defensive lineman, I don't even know who it is, but that left defensive lineman that was on Brown all day, that was able to get out, swim move underneath, and be able to go down towards the other. I've never seen a defensive lineman be able to go down the line of scrimmage like he did. Usually when a speed rush happens, they're able to get to the outside and sort of bend around, like a Von Miller. I've never seen a defensive lineman been able to jump inside of a left tackle like that so many times. So many times was Patrick Mahomes pressured from the middle of the line, despite the fact that guy was lining up against the left tackle. So I think there's that really played a factor into it. MVS had another couple of drops today, and while he had a couple of really great catches too, he's starting to frustrate me because he's got a case of the dropsies. He's not able to bring in some passes that I really feel like he should be able to bring in. But yeah, I think this is a team loss. There's no one person that I can blame this on. Butker missed a field goal. Travis Kelce had a fumble. Left side of the offensive line played poorly. I mean, there's a lot to come away with this from. This is not just one guy's fault, but it's tough. I mean, they got punched in the mouth, and they were not able to punch back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I specifically go towards Wiley because he's allowed 7 sacks on the season. He has allowed the most pressure of any offensive lineman on our team, and I think most of that is combined.
I
And
think
when
he's broken the record for most ineligible man downfield calls too. I don't know how one lineman
without a fail.
like Yeah.
I don't understand what he's doing. I mean,
and I get Mahomes is scrambling, but on the one where he got that, like as soon as the ball was snapped, he was right to the linebacker like it was a counter option. Like
yeah, you have to wait.
just yeah,
You have to
just
kind of
sit.
wait it out.
You
know,
just have to sit.
Yeah. I don't know, man. He just takes off running and goes in any direction he can go. That's what it seems like he does. It's like, what do I do, George?
And at this point, I'm wondering, Andy's got to have to say enough's enough. I mean, I feel like he's kind of let Spags do his own thing for way too long. He's let BNB do his own thing for way too long. When is Andy going to basically be like, no, this is what we're doing? Because they're losing games they should win. They should have beat Buffalo. They should have beat the Colts. They should have definitely beat this team. Now, you can say, obviously, no team's going to finish undefeated. But the way that these teams, they have lost these games, they have literally beaten themselves. There's no way around that. And that's just not good if you want to win a Super Bowl. No, it's not good at all. And just kind of looking at what Philip is saying in the chat, Niang is ready to play. He should be the new right tackle to replace Wiley. It just isn't in anymore. It's going to hurt this team. And Orlando Brown, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, he wants all that money, but I don't know.
I think sometimes when you're stuck in the position that Orlando's stuck in, you're fighting an interior guy and watching the edge. And that's because the line's breaking down. So sometimes I look at him and I watch when he's playing, his first read is the inside instead of the outside. And that's because he's worried about the offensive line breaking down more than he is the edge at the beginning. Because he knows what Wiley will do.
Mm-hmm.
And when Wiley breaks something down, everybody else has to jump off and grab another guy and grab another guy. So there's nobody on their man. They're on two men. And that's when you have one guy that just inevitably will screw up at least one time every series.
Yeah.
And that's Wiley. Cam Irving Jr. That's what that is. The only thing he hasn't done is hurt Mahomes, and Mahomes limped off, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't Wiley that stepped on him.
Yeah, no kidding. I think it's inexcusable to lose to a team who went 3-7 in the red zone. There's no reason. I mean, when you're forcing red zone stops like that, there's no reason to not capitalize on that in some way. In my opinion.
I mean, that's how you
so
win.
that.
That's how you beat good teams
Exactly.
like the Bengals. You stop them in the red zone. So, I still think I stand by. Just the Chiefs were not making enough plays. There were just a couple, that deep pass to MVS. Obviously, the Carlos Dunlap play was fantastic. And then the Mahomes, Michael Jordan dunk into the end zone. But
yeah, that was beautiful. I mean, there was no doubt about that.
Other than that, I mean, they were not able to. I don't want to say they came out slow, but maybe that's the best way to explain it. The Bengals came in, had an 11-minute or an 11 play drive, and were able to score right away. And the Chiefs kicked a field goal, and I think the Chiefs just were not able to respond the way that you have to in order to beat a team that has the offensive firepower of the Bengals.
Well, Reset said we should have went for it on 4th and 5. I kind of agree with that. Mm-hmm. I think at that point in the game, with who you have, I would have gone for that. Because that would have been an easy Pacheco in the middle on a screen, or Travis Kelce.
Especially the way the defense was playing today. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes the defense is on point, and it's like, well, we can trust them. But this was not one of those games. This was one of those games where I want to keep our offense on the field as long as possible. And they weren't capable of doing that. I mean, the Bengals only had time of possession for 5 more minutes than the Chiefs, but it just seemed like they had the ball and they were just taking care of it the whole game. A lot more than just 5 minutes.
I agree. It felt like they had the ball for 18
eternity.
Minutes. Yeah.
So.
Well, and I just feel like something has to change. I haven't been this frustrated a Chiefs game since the last year's AFC Championship game. I mean, look, something has to change. Either you're going to waste another one of Mahomes' prime seasons where you could have went to the Super Bowl because of silly stuff like this, or you're going to figure out and go to the Super Bowl and possibly win. I mean, it just seems like the Bengals have, like JP has his title. They have our number. Until that ends, I mean, Joe Burrow should not be 3-0 against Mahomes right now, with all due respect. Yes, he's a great player. The Chiefs are a better team, hands down, in my opinion, personally. And the way they have lost these games has just been unacceptable.
I think that the one silver lining in this is both the Bengals and the Bills have very difficult schedules coming up. The odds are that those teams are going to lose one or two of those games, and the Chiefs have a relatively easy schedule in comparison. So, while the Chiefs lost the number one seed in the conference today, they still have the opportunity to get it because I don't think either one of those teams is going to run the table for the rest of the year. But you were in control of your destiny, as it were, and losing a game, you knew that the race was tight. So because you lost to the Bills earlier, and now that you have lost to the Bengals, you're losing. Those tiebreakers can be important. So
which even it'll be nice. Looking forward and hoping for seeing the probability of the first round bye still, but it's just frustrating because Bills and Bengals are probably biggest games on the schedule, and they came up short. But it's not because the other team was the better team. It was just they just kind of throw everything down the drain, and they just forget everything that has been working for them, and they kind of just Spags and Bieniemy kind of just crap their pants when the going gets rough. So I just don't like. Even if it was a first round bye, they still have to win in big moments, and obviously that's something that Kansas City's been really good at in previous years, but it just hasn't been the same this year. And so I think
we broke the damn streak too. It was
exactly.
26-0, and now in November, December, it's over.
Right. So they have arguably the best overall team that Mahomes has played with in his career, but they just haven't been able to punctuate and have that just the swagger and the star power. Yeah, it's all play calling really, but they just haven't had the swagger that they've had in previous years. So that just has to happen.
The offensive play calling today was absolutely horrid. It was a 50-50 shot almost to the tee on run versus pass by the first half anyway. And they couldn't capitalize on the small things. And that's because there was bad play calling. When you know Mahomes is going to find somebody open, let him pass the ball.
Mm-hmm.
There was two or three different plays where there was a wide open Kelsey, there was a wide open Watson at one point, and he was going the opposite direction and never looked their way.
Right.
Because of the way the play was called, or if it was a run, whatever,
right.
Fake run, whatever.
And
he had a certain play in mind, and he didn't have time to be able to get around to read the play. Read more than once. He couldn't read all of his reads more than once.
Right.
Except for a couple of plays.
Yeah, and on one of the last plays there where Butker missed the field goal, when Mahomes took the sack there, they have to do a better job of getting it out fast, having a play call to where even if no gain, you don't lose yards there, and keep it.
That's why
at
you always see Mahomes doing this because he wants it out there quickly and he can read it.
Right. So when Bieniemy's making it to where it's a 5-step drop and he's 5 yards off the ball, it's horrible play calling because sure it's still technically field goal range, but you need to be keeping in mind how to tie it up there. Okay, well if we're going to go to the field goal, you have to know that already. Well, we're going to go for the field goal, so we need to set us up for a better chance to do that and not lose 3 or 4 yards.
I would push back on that. I don't think it was a problem to be running the ball. In fact, running the ball was your one of your more effective ways of moving the ball down the field. And then the problem with him not being able to get the ball out quickly is they were doing that same crap again, where they dropped 8 and rushing with 3, and they had a spy on Mahomes, a quarterback spy. So he wasn't able to make those plays quickly because everybody was manned up. He couldn't move. He couldn't run for those 3 yards because you had a spy, and so you had that problem. And then the spy, because he's in between the hash marks, he sort of doubles up as a zone coverage. So your normal man beaters, where you're running slant routes, aren't there because there's another defender right there, and it's not like he's not gonna say, "Oh, I'm on the quarterback. It's not my job to block the ball." Now there are some ways that you can work out of that. We started to see some more of the screen game become effective for the Chiefs. Running the screen game was really good. The problem with that is you have a lineman that continues to go past 1 yard past the line of scrimmage. So I don't think it was. I'm not really going to call play calling out here. I think it comes down to players making those plays, and I think that there was a lack of that. And
Well, when they drop 8, they're expecting you to throw deep there. So I think it almost Bieniemy was predictable, and that's why I'm blaming the play calling, because they expected him to throw deep on a 4th and short when they were able to drop 8. If you throw a tiny little short slant or something, that beats zone. That's a zone beater right there. Just a short little quick on the break.
Yeah, which is like a half a second play.
Right, exactly. So if you just 3-sec drop it in real quick to Kelsey or whoever, the zone doesn't matter. If you're dropping 8, that's perfect. Throw it short. Even if you don't get a first down, it's 4th and 3.
Yeah, and let the playmakers make plays. I mean,
exactly.
Kelsey always, for the most part, always gets 5 to 7 yards after the catch.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you're having dialing up the deep, not only does that play into the zone coverage, but it also does back Mahomes up, and it sets it up for a 4th and 6 instead of a 4th and 3.
Agreed.
The other problem is that once again Mahomes was under duress a lot too. So I would, like I said, I would love to watch some of the film and see what was being done exactly. But I was just looking at my notes, and I think left side of the offensive line contributed to this. Playmakers not making plays like this year. Travis Kelce has been the guy, that security blanket, and he wasn't there. I don't know if they were doubling him up the entire game. I'm not sure exactly how they were able to remove him from the game, but they were able to. Obviously, the late 4th quarter fumble is a huge part of this, and so your playmakers let you down. It's like that too. You can't continue to make mistakes and expect to beat a team like the Bengals. It's like any of the other top teams in the AFC. You can't make mistakes. Patrick Mahomes throwing an interception on the late 4th quarter drive. That's how you lose games, and that's how the Chiefs lost today. Playmakers didn't make plays, and in fact, some of them made mistakes.
I do want to add something. Go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say, though, saying the playmakers let us down, also, I think that let the playmakers down, because kind of what JP was saying, they didn't trust the playmakers. And every other game, it's like, give it to Kelsey, and he'll get 10 yards after the catch. It wasn't like that today. It was either he better catch it 50 yards downfield, or it's a 5-yard play, and that was it. And they weren't trusting the guys to make plays that are supposed to, and that kind of hurt it too.
We've done a lot of stunts over the middle with Sky Moore, with Kelsey, with Watson, even Juju for that matter. Today was non-existent.
No,
it was non-existent for those short, intermediate. Get a first down, move forward.
They try to keep it too bread and butter.
Yeah. They went way too vanilla today.
Yeah, the vanilla offense is something I've been saying for weeks, JP. You probably agree with me. You can't stay with vanilla. You got to change it up. You got to figure something out, because obviously, if they're going to do that sort of offense, great. But it's going to come to a point where the Chiefs are going to figure out what they're going to do, because the vanilla offense isn't going to work. It's just not going to. Then you're playing against a team that has some good guys, some studs. And it just makes no sense to me. We're seeing the same stuff every time we play against the Bengals. And it's like, if nothing's going to change, then what are they playing for if you're going to run into them again in the playoffs? Yep. So, lots got to change. And I hate to blame the refs, but I do feel like some of these roughing the passer calls, and then if they call it
just depends on who that's
hands on. And if they call hands to the face, why isn't the CBS broadcast showing us the penalty? That's one thing I would like to know, because it just makes no sense. They call penalty, and we, as the fans, would like to see, okay, how's the penalty? But then they don't want to do that. It just makes no sense to me as a whole.
Paid them not to.
Well, and the NFL may do that. It's case in point. But the issue is that as a fan, you should be able to see, oh, that's a hands to face. Okay, where's the hands to face? I mean, this is going back all the way to once we saw the Chiefs play the Steelers in Mahomes' first season. Frank Clark, someone got a strip sack, and maybe I think it was Frank Clark got a strip sack, and Chris Jones recovered the ball in his zone for a touchdown. They called a holding. Didn't show it on the broadcast, and the CBS has done this for years and years and years. And I'm kind of at the point where if you can't show us, then how are we supposed to believe you? Because you won't have the officials. Call them out. Well, Fox but the thing is that the officials don't even get a quote unquote press conference. They can call whatever calls they want and be high behind the NFL. That's not how it should work. They should have a set. They should have a press conference live in front of everyone else, just like the players. Like how's Mahomes going to play? Well, he has to answer to the public. Why can't the officials?
I don't know if that's ever going to change.
I know, it's just something I'm lobbing for.
I know. It's one of those things where you just can't change it. Today we just got outplayed. I mean, regardless of the couple of bad calls. I mean, Mahomes got hit 2 seconds after the ball releases out of his hands, and he got nailed to the ground. They didn't call that, but Burrow was in the middle of throwing the ball, and they hit him, and it was roughing the passer.
Right.
So,
Nothing the passer.
Huh?
Nothing the passer.
Nothing the passer. That's exactly what that was.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's just really frustrating. Now you should never put yourself in a position to be beat by the refs. That roughing the passer, nothing the passer is just another bad example of how, the NFL has gone the complete, has taken it too far in terms of trying to protect the quarterbacks. But
we'll not have a defense out there.
yeah, I just keep coming back to, I really do feel like the players let themselves down in this game. On that last play when Chase made that catch to really ice the game, to put it away on that third down. There were 3 defenders in the area. As a defensive back, you see him coming across you can't let Chase cross your face. So I think I don't think that it was a scheme problem. I think it was a player's problem. They just didn't recognize that you can't let Jamar Chase cross your face, because that's where he's going to want to go with the ball. We're talking about, here's a game-winning situation. Where does every quarterback want to go? He wants to go to their guy, and Chase is their guy. Just like if, in the reverse roles, you can't let Travis Kelce cross your face in that situation. So I think that this is a team loss.
They left a corner out on an island again with Chase, and not only that, a rookie one. You can't do that.
Well, unfortunately, the Chiefs have nothing but rookie corners.
I understand.
Right, but there's ways to scheme around
that. You need to give him some help. Give him some safety help.
Well, and the thing I would say to that, you can't play like a zone coverage the entire game. You are going to have to, at a certain point, you're going to have to put trust in your corners that are going to be able to hold off for a little bit. So
right, but McDuffie and Snead are the corners that you can trust in the one-on-one stuff like that, against Chase especially. Yeah. I love Joshua Williams, but there is no reason why he should be, no matter what blitz package or anything, why he should be one-on-one with Chase at any point in the game.
No.
And I feel like McDuffie should have followed, but when talking with you guys and also talking with Phillip, he's basically the right cornerback. So all it takes for them is like, okay, we're gonna move Chase to the other side of the formation. We'll see what happens.
Right.
I mean, that's just kind of how they're gonna get around that. So.
Well, I guess maybe they learned something today. I don't know. Reset's mad. He says we're not Super Bowl contenders anymore. We won't win it. And my hopes for the Super Bowl are over. They're not over yet, man. We got a lot of time left.
Yep.
I wouldn't
go
that
lot of games
far,
to play.
I think it's going to be harder to get to the Super Bowl than it is to actually win the Super Bowl, because the AFC is so stacked with talent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
I agree. It's going to be a fight each and every game.
We don't know what's going to happen with the Ravens, by the way, because Lamar Jackson is getting hurt again.
Yeah.
And they said they didn't think it was going to be season ending, but that doesn't mean he won't be out for a few weeks.
Right.
And this is exactly mimics what happened last year, is where, they came out strong, they were doing pretty well. They were basically playoff contenders and the team to beat, and then they didn't make the playoffs.
Right. I think the biggest loss for Kansas City in this game is, especially moving forward, is just the confidence boost that this will give Cincinnati, because Kansas City is a much better team, and just along the playoff stretch, this is not the time when you want to give a team like that confidence, because Kansas City was clearly on top going into this, and they clearly are going out of this, but I don't like that extra little boost that we just gave them as far as moving forward into the playoffs, because I think that could help them a ton as far as getting to a big game in the playoffs.
I think this, though, I don't think beating a team by 3 each time that they've played them, especially with the way things have changed and the way the AFC is so much stronger, I don't know if that's going to be that big of a – it gives them a confidence boost against us.
Right. I was going to say,
now.
Well, for the Chiefs, it wouldn't be a confidence boost, but – teams beating Kansas City, Super Bowl. So I think it could be a 1-point game, and it's kind of just because it's Kansas City, it gives it an extra little spark
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
Chase got his taunting flag by that, which was nice.
Yep.
I mean, it was nice
Yep.
to see that. That was
And I see him; he's all happy on Twitter, but the guy really didn't do much this game. And hey, he can talk all his junk, but to point to one of Phillips' message in the chat, he says Chiefs need a new safety. Thornhill's lacks the instincts to play the single high over the middle. We need an Ed Reed type of safety. Well, Phillip, we may need another guy to kind of help because
that's why the Chiefs drafted Cook.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because with the whole cap space situation, I didn't see Thornhill really coming back, so I figured that the Cook draft pick was one for next year. So
It very well could be.
Maybe for this year. Thornhill got burned a lot at the beginning of this game, so I mean, he got torched. No matter how you look at it, it just is what it is. I think a lot of it's just schematics too. You got to have the right people and the right players, and if you don't have them there, adjust. And they didn't adjust today. They just didn't adjust.
no.
So
Which I'm a big fan of keeping it vanilla. Like as far as like last week's game go, where I mean, give the defense a boost, let the running backs see carries, stuff like that. And I mean, the Rams were, dang near given going into that, banged up. So I like keeping it vanilla, kind of what Andrew Reid does. But I don't like doing it in games like this. You keep it vanilla to set yourself up for success in a game like this, where you can get creative and have fun and just use the things that worked previously.
Yeah.
So I think it's all for nothing, really, in the way you look at it. But I don't know. I guess we'll see how they adapt to this moving forward.
yeah, it's just going to be just another learning experience, I guess, for this team. But we do have a lot of rookies back there. We played a really good football team, so I mean, it is what it is. We're going to have to figure out a way of just getting better as the weeks go on. So when we do hit the playoffs, whether it be first, second, or wild card, we need to be ready for it.
Right.
So,
What are the positives we can take away from this game? Because there are a couple. There are a couple.
I mean, the running backs, both of them, Pacheco and McKinnon, both of them did great in the run game, and they did really well in the pass game. Pacheco was the fourth. He got 16 yards, so I don't know how much of that is, but he was the fourth leading back. But his run game, once again, he was averaging about 5 yards a carry, and McKinnon got back there and he was averaging over 6 yards a carry. So and he ran the ball 8 times.
Yeah, he had some good
Both
runs.
of the running backs were able to take advantage of the holes that the offensive line was giving them. This offensive line did a good job run blocking today.
Yeah, they did. They made wide holes. I would agree with you. They did a good job there.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I guess one of the things I can take out of it is that maybe it's just a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they've got to do if they want to move forward and continue to move forward, I should say. And today was a perfect example of what you do to scheme up against certain players.
Yep.
And if you're going to face them again, maybe. There's a high probability you will. So you better be damn ready when it comes down to it.
And I will say Carlos Dunlap stepped up, and then also McDuffie. McDuffie held it down on the right side of the field, so I'm very happy what I saw there. And Dunlap, who plays only a handful of plays a game, did really well. So there are some positives. There are a lot of positives to take away, too. I say Frank Clark still went there and did his thing, even though he was dealing with a stomach issue. His basic kind of came on Twitter. They said he threw up in the middle of the night, wasn't feeling well. So, he came out there and did his thing. So, I can't fault him for that. So, a lot of stuff got to change. But there were some positives.
Frank Clark?
Well, they said last night he threw up in the middle of the night, so they were saying his stomach was bothering him. So, we all know what that is. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was a rumor going around that Travis Kelce was out because he was sick. Apparently, we know that's not true. He did have a little bit of the bug, from what I understand, but it wasn't anything major. It was just like more of a head cold, if anything. Leave it at that. But there was some fake tweet that went out, and everybody got freaked out because they thought he wasn't playing. Kelce wouldn't miss the game if he had 104 temperature. The guy's got too many consecutive games. Other than COVID. So, and I don't even know if they should count that. But,
Right.
I don't know.
Yep, I'd say my biggest thing as far as moving forward, positive thing. Honestly, I think it's that we all know what. I mean, don't poke the bear. And Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed, those that's three guys that you don't want to make mad. And I think that this is really going to just kind of give them a lot of motivation moving forward to just prove a point. And they're going to be playing with. I mean, they had a chip on their shoulder going into this game with Cincinnati, but it won't be about one game now. It is going to be about the Super Bowl because
Yeah.
ball doesn't lie, and winning the championship makes everything else obsolete. So I think that this is really going to break out the pettiness in this team, and they're going to be coming out with, I mean, taking things personal from now on, and just I think they're going to take it to another level after this.
That's the first time
I agree.
that Mahomes has been beat by the same team 3 times too, in a row. 3 times at all, and then 3 times basically in a row.
Yep.
So I think that's going to give him a little bit of motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much more motivation you need.
No, really. I mean,
But I just mean as far as long term though, giving that boost, it just gives you an extra little passion, especially. I mean, with 5 games, and we've already discussed how these should be give me games. It can be really easy for okay teams to just get lost in the chaos and kind of probably lose a couple of these games. And I think that we all know that Mahomes and all of them are a lot better than that. And I think this will actually help them win these games, finish the season out, and then just come back in the playoffs ready for it. So that's
I agree.
and then-
and hopefully Andy's seen and everybody else, watched
Right.
or witnessed what happened today, and they just continue
Right.
to take over and do what they need to do.
and obviously this is one you want to win, but we were talking about keeping it vanilla in this one, and I do think Andy Reid expects to play them again in the playoffs. And so, I mean, as far as obviously we were all very upset about this, and this is one you want to win, but I just think on the grand picture of things, assuming that we play them again in the playoffs, I mean, they're
Pretty
not going to know
smart
what.
move if you look at
Right.
it that way, I guess. Yeah.
Right. And when you look at it in the long term, I mean, I don't like to. I want to win now, so this is not something. But we all know Andy Reid thinks differently than us, and he he has a mind of his own. But I just
does.
think, as far as I mean, we meet them in the playoffs, they won't know what to expect, and in a lot of ways, this was the biggest game of their season, no matter how far they make it. So I just think that they unleashed everything, and Kansas City kept it bland. And I mean, it's obviously a team that Kansas City knows they can beat. So I don't want to say that they purposely lost this game, but I also don't want to say that it took everything they had to win it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then I also say as well, when you look at it too, it wouldn't surprise me if we end up facing one of those 2 teams possibly again in the
Right.
playoffs. So
Right.
that could be a possibility.
Bills or
there.
Bengals.
Oh,
Yeah, Bills or
without that.
Bengals could
Yeah.
be one of those teams they play. And if they somehow get the first round bye, they say they played the way it's looking, they could theoretically play the Bengals in the first game, then the Bills. If everything works out, the Chiefs can win out and continue the number 1 seed. But right now, the Chiefs are the 2 seed because the Bengals have so the Bills have a tiebreaker. So that's just one of the things we see there.
Assuming the higher seed wins every game of the playoffs, there's
Exactly.
a chance that they play both of them in order to get to the Super Bowl. From what I've been looking at.
And I have a feeling if they continue to push for the playoffs, they'll face one of those 2 teams again in a
Yeah.
rematch.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think they'll definitely play one of them.
One of those
Yeah.
2 will be the AFC Championship game.
Yeah,
That's my.
it'll
opinion.
be Chiefs and one of them, in my opinion. So
Because I think everybody else leading up to the playoffs right now is a one and done.
yeah,
Those are the 2 teams I probably would say are not a one and done. Maybe Miami, but it'd be rare. I mean, it'd just be rare. So
anything can happen, especially in the NFL. But as far as what we've seen now, I think that I don't know. I think there's positive things, a lot of them to look at as far as the future is concerned.
yeah, and I will say this whole corner group is going to be animals next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing we have to look at. I know it's one more year in Mahomes' career, and everybody wants him to chase Brady and all that stuff. But look, if he gets 4 or 5 Super Bowls in his career, that's great. I mean, Montana had 4.
Didn't
It's
Aikman
just-
have 3?
Aikman had 3. Went to 4, but had 3. If I'm not mistaken. They beat the Bills twice. 2 times. Yeah, I think 2 times or 3 times in the Super Bowl. Somebody beat the Bills twice, and I think it was Buffalo, but because they lost four straight Super Bowls, basically.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, it could be a learning experience. It could be I hope it's a learning experience for the front office and the coaches, because they've got to put the right people in the right position to win. And it's that simple. If you don't have the right people in place, you're not going to win a football game. And definitely with the tackling that we had today, I mean, we can't continue on tackling that way. We just can't.
And the crazy thing is that we see every time I've gone to training camp, and when we went, we saw us, they practice tackling. But it seems like it seems like with Spags, that has been a troublesome spot for them. They can't tackle. It's like they just can't tackle these guys, and these other guys are seeing like prime Deion Sanders or a prime, I don't even know, Bo Jackson. I mean, they just can't tackle them.
I think part of the problem when I look at these guys and they go for the tackle, they go all in one direction and they can't adjust to go the other direction in case that player jukes them, or in case the player decides to raise a foot over their tackle. They tackle very low, which you're supposed to. It's a great thing to tackle low, but you don't need to go for their feet. Go for their knees. Go for their thighs. Go for their waist. But I've watched 3 tackles today where they went for their feet and they just hopscotch right through it. So that's just something they have to work on as well. They have to go towards the midsection and take them out there. At the hip or, between the hip and the knee is the best spot to grab them. They're not going anywhere. But I don't know. I mean, I watched Kareem Hunt today make some runs that just vintage Kareem Hunt. I mean, just breaking tackles, people, he was just breaking ankles is what he was doing. And it was pretty nice to actually see him run the ball as well as he did, especially with the frustration he has up there. But man, I don't know. We got to just get back on point.
I will say the Mahomes touchdown run was nice. Aaron Mahomes. That was a positive. That was a nice play.
Alex Smith crap right there. Alex would do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a great heads-up play. He was like, if I fumble, I fumble. We'll go in the end zone. If not, they'll get the ball there. I mean, it's not a bad move at all, to be honest.
No. He crossed the line. I mean, it's all he needed was to break the plane, and he did. So proves that he's not scared to take a hit. I don't know. Anybody got anything else?
I would just say that I'll listen to some of these press conferences and see what they have to say. I feel like this loss is on the players, and I think I mentioned this earlier that this is all on every group, special teams, defense, offense has a part in this loss. So we'll see how they come back next week. Next week, even though the Broncos offense is like literally the worst, the defense is no slouch. So we need to make sure that we come firing on all cylinders, because they may be the Broncos, but that defense is still really, really good. So we need to make sure that whatever hiccup this was, it doesn't carry over into next week.
Yeah, because we can't lose a divisional game. We can't.
Yeah, and I think the Broncos will be a great opportunity to. I mean, with the defense that they have, and obviously the overall team's not great, so it'll kind of give you a little bit of cushion to make mistakes, but it'll open up. I mean, you just have to prove that you have to trust your playmakers, get them the ball, just chip away, and just, kind of regain their mojo on offense. So I think it's a great opportunity to go against a good defense to give them a good look on what they need to take care of.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, if you can't figure out what you did wrong in this film, then you really shouldn't be watching film. So I don't know what else to say. I don't think it's going to do you any good if you do, if you can't figure out what you did wrong here. And that goes for the coaching too. It's that simple. It goes for the coaching, from the play calls to the defensive schemes. It goes for them as well. They need to watch and see who belongs where, no matter where they are ranked on the depth chart, and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this too, that this locker room, it's a good enough locker room that fingers aren't going to be pointed. I think the team is able to rebound from a loss like this.
That's all going to be
Andy
on
Reid,
text,
as always.
Quentin. By the way, that's all going to be on text. Damn, Wiley sucks. I could just see everybody, the entire offensive line, and every wide receiver in a group chat without Wiley. He sucks. We got to get rid of him. Somebody break his. I can just see it happening.
Yep.
But
no, I can see it kind of like the little brother thing too, where Prince Tega's in the group chat too. They're like, "Hey man, we're trying to get you. We're trying to get you in there."
Here.
I just feel like at this point, you might as well try something new. You have a guy that did pretty good when Wiley was out. Why not try running with him or see what Niang can do? I think Niang was out there for 1 or 2 plays. I will know probably a little bit later tonight.
They brought him out as an extra. They brought him out as an extra blocker, which was interesting because they didn't even run the ball. They didn't run the ball down. They did one of those. I think, was that the sweep to Sky Moore? No, that was with Pacheco.
Yes,
they did was it a toss to Pacheco? But they ran it outside the tackle, like a really wide toss. So I don't know. It was interesting that they brought in.
Came up with. So and since he bought into it, they never had him out there to really do anything but, show his presence, because that was just like a shell call. But I think he needs to now be in that spot and just play that spot. If they don't want to put Prince in, they need to put him in. It's that simple. So.
And maybe this week was, maybe this was just a situation where they want to see him get out on the field and see what he does. I don't know. Maybe I'm, reaching there, but.
Right. I think it's important for the young defensive guys to just learn how to situation manage. So when Chris Jones is wrapping up a runner and he's pretty much picking him up off the ground, instead of coming in and trying to tackle him as well, you need to be trying to punch the ball out when you're down late. I think that's a big opportunity and a big learning point.
Practice that. I don't know why we don't practice that. I don't know why we don't do it. You never see any of our players go to punch a ball out.
Right. And I love Snead, but he is really bad about it. He was one I noticed was always trying to hop in on the tackle. And no offense, but if I'm Snead and Chris Jones has this guy picked up, there's nothing I can do that he can't. So as far as
other than punch the ball out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the opportunity of making a play and just rip it in there, punching it out. I mean, if you get a dog pile, even if he's down with the ball and there's a big dog pile, the refs only see who comes up with the ball. So you be scratching and crawling and pulling, and you just got to make plays like that whenever it's late and it's a big game.
I agree.
So, but I do think, it's obviously a really young team. They're out Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman, and once those guys get back, that'll be huge. I just think that there'll be a lot of opportunities for more success moving forward. I think it'll be a good learning curve for the young team that Kansas City has.
I agree, and I still think they're probably the best team out there, and still front runners for a Super Bowl. So compared to everybody else,
ESPN will have a field day still, but
we know they will.
Yeah, that's normal for them.
Especially Ryan Clark.
Yeah.
Yep.
I told you guys the Chiefs weren't any good. I can hear him.
Yeah, I told you.
They're not even going to make the playoffs.
Right.
So, I don't know.
But it hasn't been the first time Kansas City's been doubted, and it's not going to be the last time. But they've proven time and time again what the ceiling is there, and inevitably it's a Super Bowl ring. So we'll see what happens.
I agree. Well, with that being said, I don't think we have anything else, unless you guys do. But
no.
If that's it, we will.
I do have one thing.
What's that?
I was going to say to all the fans, as bad as this was, this is one game in a 17-game season. The Chiefs are most likely going to win their division and go to the playoffs. So they're guaranteed at least an 18th game. It'll work out. It'll be fine. Right. It's just one game this season. Good.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just important to keep your heads and just remember that, even no matter how poorly some of them might have played, these players, you got to limit the hate, because you can't be rooting on them when they make great plays and then hating when they make horrible plays. Obviously there's not all sunshine and rainbows, and we're going to be criticizing things that, need to improve on, but that's just because we expect more out of them and we know what they're capable of. It's not a pure hate thing. So it's just important to just, keep it real. Either be all in or all out, but don't don't only be with
Don't
the
half
Chiefs
class it because it
when
ain't
they're
gonna be
winning.
any
Exactly. So
It's games like this that make the wins more fun.
good. Yep.
exactly.
Exactly. Words of wisdom.
Yep. So I think we'll break down the film as a team, and then Chiefs will bounce back, and then Tuesday we'll have the film, and we'll be on the show, and we'll be talking about what we think.
Yeah,
So-
definitely.
A lot will be said this week for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be a media frenzy, but oh well. We'll just prove it in the end. So
Don't even turn on ESPN. Don't even turn
I
on
was gonna-
Fox
I was
Sports.
gonna
Just
say.
don't even touch it.
yeah,
As soon as they start talking about the Chiefs, just turn it off.
yep.
Uh-huh.
That's what I would do, but I'm not even gonna go on Twitter much. But
Yep.
with that being said, we will talk to you guys again on Tuesday. We appreciate everybody for joining.
Go Chiefs.